The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of ParaX, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
It's coming.
All these voices. All these voices.
They're not yours. You had no right to them when you were alive, and you have no right to them when you're dead. That's what it sounded like. Good, so you know who I am. And then you know I'm not playing. You're going to let those women go. In Jesus' name, you're going to let those women go.
Is there a demon here watching us right now? Watching us right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me, as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
And good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's having a good evening. Thank you, brother.
Tonight's show is going to be unpredictable. Usually I'll get on here and say tonight's show is going to be interesting. We got a great show. This is what we're going to be talking about. Tonight, I don't know what we're going to be talking about. This is an old boy show. This is one where he said that he had an idea for something that he wanted to talk about. And I said, okay. So I guess without further ado, we will throw over to Old Boy and see what he has to say. And then I will be back on the other side to try to give my opinion on whatever it is that we're talking about tonight. So, Old Boy, go ahead, brother.
Thank you, brother. I hope you guys are going to enjoy this show. It's going to be a little different. So, I'm going to start off. It was my idea on this show because somebody asked me a couple weeks ago about this question. And it's set up from the last show we just did. Okay. Do things happen to people because it's just they attract certain other people? And it's just meant to happen? Like when you get murdered. Is it the person is just attracted to a certain person? Maybe the murderer or the person who wants to do the bad thing to the other person, they see something in them, or they smell, or they get a sense of them, or it's just meant to be. My opinion on this, I'll give it in a couple minutes. I want to know what you guys think. Always remember, leave what you think in the comments. Is there people who are just attracted to other people to do stuff to them, like murder them, hurt them, bad things, just like you're being attracted to somebody, in love relationships and friendships? And I'm trying to keep it PG in other issue, we'll leave it at that. But do you think that there's just things that happen? And do you think it's accident? Do you think this thing that they're just meant to die that way? Or when they die, do they come back because they were killed by somebody and it wasn't meant to happen that way? That was another theory I want to throw into this. It's going to be a twister. Do people who get murdered or killed or die, do they come back, or they get stuck in limbo? Like you'll hear like people saying that, we heard in the other show, this is going on in the other show, he saw ghosts and they were trying to pull him in. Do you just get stuck there, or do you come back, or you get stuck in another dimension? Or does somebody kill you because they're just attracted to kill you? Not just because they people want to kill people, that happens. But there's stuff that just happens, they kill, that happens. I'm not talking about mass murders, I'm talking about like people who get murdered, killed, and I'm not talking about a lover thing or something like that. I'm talking about just like a murderer, like Jeffrey Dahmer's, Ted Bundy, and just somebody, they're just attracted to that. They attracted to, even with relationships, they're attracted to that person in that way, that they're always going to meant to kill them. And I'm not trying to get anybody, I know this might be a little controversial. I'm not trying to upset anybody. It's just a theory. And somebody asked me, and I kind of have a theory about it too. Are we meant, and this is going on to another part of the show, is these killers, are they just attracted to somebody's aura? Do they see something different in other people than they would? And they, like, say they see John Smith. I'm just throwing it out there. Regular guy. And they're not attracted to that guy. But Paul Peters goes by and just something about them drags them and wants them. And then they end up doing something. Is it you're just meant to be that way? Is it you're meant to... Is it kind of like being a lion? You smell out the... Is it they sense the weakness? Is that what it is? That's another thing I was going to say. Weakness into them or something? Is that what attracts these people to do things? There's a possibility. You know, there is a possibility of that. There's something about them that just... You ever not like somebody, you just don't like them. You don't know why. They've never really done anything. Everything annoys you about them. Just don't like them. And you leave it at that. But then there's some people just... They want to do something. But they don't know why. It's not like they've done anything or hated each other. It's just they have an attraction to hurt somebody. Or hurt that person. Or they pick somebody out of the blue. And sometimes they'll leave other persons alone. Or the other person gets away. And that's not accident. Maybe that was meant to be. Maybe they were picked. They were supposed to be killed like that by that person. I'm not saying and trust me, I'm not happy about it. I'm so against murderers and killers and people who do bad things. But is it like something like these killers notice something about these people? I mean, they know they have attraction for some reason, but it's like they just pick somebody. But sometimes they don't. They watch them for a while and then get them. Or randomly they just pick somebody because they sense something else. They sense a weakness in them, or they just don't like them, or there's just something attracting them. And that's what somebody was asking me, and I told him I would do a show about this. And I would love to know what you guys think, because it's kind of weird how that happens sometimes. It's just like a tiger and a gazelle. Or a lion, no, not tiger and gazelle. A lion and a gazelle, they know they'll pick the weakest one, or they find something that just attracts them to get that kill. Like with with everything. Water buffaloes. Is there something, I mean, I know a lot of people get, that have been murdered, or older elderly people, and because it's, a lot of them, it's easy. But not all the time. It doesn't happen like that all the time. Some in women, I know it's attraction. There's something. Some of these killers just want to hurt people, or they think they belong with these people, and killing them and doing bad things is going to be a part of them. And I get that part of it, but is it something that it tells them that that's the person, and was it meant to be like that? Because a lot of people believe that. I not advocating, like, again, murderers or killers at all. I absolutely despise them. But I was a question, because the Jeffrey Dahmer show, and people have been talking about it, and I know they're going to make another show. I forget which killer it was going to be this time, but Jeffrey Dahmer is a big topic right now, that show, and there's a lot of controversy on it. And some of it was exaggerated, like pretty much 60% of it, what I've heard, or more. And not telling the whole story, but how they want you to watch it. They want you to and it worked. And, somebody asked me this. And so I wanted to talk about it on this show. So let me know what you guys think in the comments, And I'll get to the other part I was talking about a couple minutes ago. So after something happens to you, do you stay there because it was such a tragic event? That's why it ties into this, that you get stuck there. And that's what we do with ghost hunters and ghost investigators. We talk to them because we find out they're stuck in limbo. I'll say limbo because it's easier to say. Purgatory. There we go. Purgatory. And limbo, same thing. That you see people around you, but you can't do nothing. You could talk to them. And then there's other things there. And demons, ghosts, whatever you want to call them, entities, phantoms, angels, fallen angels. Is it something else? Do we get stuck in this other world where we're dead, but there's other things there, horrible things there, and they do horrible things, and that's what hell really is, or limbo. You get stuck, and that's why we communicated with them in the paranormal world. They want us to know what happened to them, and you think about it. James had a case with that, with the I think it's the two women with the murderer who kept them. He dealt with this already, and it kind of, that's why I was going to talk. We talked about that show, I think it was a couple years ago, and he dealt with this on an investigation. And do you think that that's what it is? These killers are just attracted to something that tells them to kill them, these people, or do something bad to them. And I was wondering what you guys thought about that. And then what happens is after they die, or they get, or the other thing is they die in a car crash or a plane wreck, or get killed accidentally, or fall off a building, and they just get stuck there because they weren't supposed to die. It happened. And they can't get anywhere till we help them out. Maybe we're the key. Did you ever think about that? We're the key to get them out of limbo. And maybe that's why we're paranormal. There's people that get picked for that, because I believe that you have to be a certain kind of person to do this kind of stuff, to mess with the dead, shadow people, all kinds of stuff like that. Because I also like, I like cryptozoology, and I like history and conspiracy theories, aliens, all that. We all like that, and that's a whole nother stuff we could talk about. But what do you think about that, guys? Do you think that that's what we do? We're trying to help them? Maybe sometimes you got to get pushed out of a situation you're stuck in limbo forever. If you don't, then this is what happens. What do you guys think? Tell me what you guys' opinions. Sorry if you guys see me standing up. I was stretching out for a minute. What do you guys think about that? Do you agree with me on that? Do you not agree with me? Do you think that's just, there's just you go to heaven or hell? Do you believe there's nothing? Do you believe you come back as something else? And what do you think about the killing thing? Do you think people just get chose because it's something with the person who wants to do something is just attracted to them in a certain way? And it just, like their aura, maybe they give out like a green, yellow aura, or they're just, maybe it's a weakness they smell or something. What do you think about that, guys? I know it's a very controversial issue because of that, but I was wondering what you thought about that. Because I think that people are picked for a reason. There isn't, it isn't just randomly. There's got to be a reason. And some people believe this is just meant to happen. I hate to say it, and no one should be meant to be killed or murdered or anything bad happen to them. Now, accidents are a whole different story. That's another thing. Maybe you can't change that. That's just going to happen. But then they get stuck because sometimes you either cheat death. Like you've heard people, the guy escaped 9/11. One of the ones that hit I think it was one of the towers, he ended up dying a month later in an airplane. He was supposed to die, and he didn't. Like the one guy survived the plane crash, he died like a week or two later on a car. So he was just like the Final Destination thing. You were supposed to die, but you escaped death, and you died in another way and made up for it. I believe that can happen. And you know what? One day we're going to have to do a show about cheating death and something bad happening to you after, kind of the Final Destinations. This is, like I said, we always try to set up other shows. And it's something we never thought about for the last 6 years. And now I'm giving them another idea for another show down the line. And you guys probably would enjoy every minute of it, because we always do a great show. And you guys know that, because you guys wouldn't be watching this for 6 years. So that's what I think, and that's what I was going to say. What did you guys think about that? My opinion. Do you think that bad things happen to people because they have some kind of aura that these people see, or they attract bad things that happen? Do you ever think about that? That's another thing I was going to talk to you, is people just attract bad things. They just have bad karma, bad juju, bad things that happen. And it happens to their family like a curse. And you'll see these people, I've known people like this. Every bad thing you can ever happens to them. And then I know people, every good thing happens. Is there just bad things that happen to certain people? And Or somebody's suicide. That's another issue I don't really like talking about. But are they just meant to? You have met people who I knew they were never gonna make it through life. I knew whatever we were gonna do, we're never gonna get away with them. I wish I could stop it, but it never happened because they're just so damn wanting to die, and that was what they were meant to do. And they were great people, like the good die young. They were great, wonderful people. Just something bad happened to them, or somebody they loved died, like a soulmate, and maybe they just cannot live without them. Maybe you guys realize you cannot live without your soulmate, but there's more than one. I believe there's a twin flame-o, that's your twin flame. That's who you're supposed to be with. And if you ever notice, they die. Even if you die, you pretty much die, because down the line, you're going to die a year later, a couple months later. You're just going to be a miserable person. Yes, you can find somebody, but I believe that's a different thing. I found my soulmate. I was married before. It wasn't the person I was supposed to be with, but it happened. And I don't regret it. We had to learn from that. And I don't regret my daughter. I love my daughter to death. I wouldn't change her for the world. I wouldn't change the experience I have. I wish it would have been different, but that's it. You have to live and grow with it. And now I've met a wonderful woman, and I don't think I could ever live without her. But I wanted you guys to tell me what you guys think about that. Sorry. And tell me what your theories are on it. Do you believe what I'm saying? Do you think that could happen? Do you think that there's stuff that can happen like that we just attract this kind of aura about us? And there's people just have bad luck, and it's like three different things in one. And because it's coming, and then the limbo is there people that just die, and that's where they're stuck. And paranormal investigators have broke the code and cracked it, and we're the ones trying to help them get back to the normal places they're at, not the normal, where they're supposed to be at, instead of being stuck where they're at. And maybe that's why they get our attention, because we have a certain aura ourselves they attract. They attract certain people like us, like me and James, and they want us to help them. And then there's some who attack us. So what I'm thinking is maybe there's something else that doesn't want us to take them away from them. What you would call a demon or a shadow person or fallen angel. Maybe that's what it is. And they lose power when we take them away from them. Maybe that's what it is. If you ever think about it, it's just a theory. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. There you go, James.
Thank you, brother. Okay, so there's a lot here. If I understand correctly, essentially what the question is fate real? Does fate exist? Is fate a thing? Or is everything just happens at random? I think that's the basic idea behind what he was saying. Now, he brought up some different examples, like with serial killers, how they choose their victims. And we can get into that a little bit. I've studied some serial killer stuff, so we can definitely get into that. I would say that with serial killers, usually it's a type that they have. And it boils down to the reason why they're killing. Some killers only kill women that look a certain way. And it's because those women remind them of their mother or somebody that was a female in their life that hurt them. So that's why they choose that. With Jeffrey Dahmer, he chose young, fit males because he was a homosexual. And that turned him on. That's what he was into. And it was his way of not only getting a type of a sexual gratification, but more than anything, I think it was his way of getting intimacy from these men, because everybody always left him in his life. His mother was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and she bailed and left him there with his dad. His dad was screwing around with another chick, so he wasn't even home. And Dahmer basically lived by himself when he was a teenager in his house. And matter of fact, when he made his first kill of a guy he picked up that was going to a concert, he brought him back to the house, and they hung out and had beer and worked out and stuff, and he ended up killing him there. That's when he was living alone, and his dad should have been there with him, but he wasn't. So for Dahmer, he killed them literally just to keep them there with him, because he was afraid they would leave him like everybody else in his life did. So his motivation for why he chose his victims was different than somebody like a Charles Manson or a Ted Bundy I mean, Manson, they put him in that category as serial killer. But in all reality, man, Manson didn't really kill that many people. You know, I mean, everybody talks about the Tate and LaBianca slayings, but that really wasn't Charlie. Charlie didn't kill those people. His followers killed those people, and very well at his command, probably, I'm sure, but he didn't physically kill them himself. I mean, he killed Gary Hinman. He killed that dude, but I don't know of any other people that it's proven that he killed. You know, so I don't think putting Charlie in the same category of serial killer really is fair. I don't think he should be in that category. Simply because he hasn't earned it. I mean, if you want to make him a cult leader, I agree with that. Make him like a Jim Jones or somebody like that. I agree 100% with that. Because he was a cult leader. He was a guy that used drugs and sex to brainwash people to get them to do stupid things and make them believe some nonsense. And so, yes, absolutely cult leader. Serial killer, mass murderer, I don't agree with that at all because he just simply hadn't earned that title. He got other people to do his dirty work. But what I'm saying is the motivation is different for each serial killer, but mainly it comes down to two basic things. Either serial killers kill for sexual gratification, sexual or emotional gratification, right? Either that's the motivation for why they kill, or they kill for hate, basically because they are killing people that remind them of their mother who treated them bad or something like that. So they're doing it as a revenge kind of thing against somebody who had wronged them in life. So they're choosing people who are like that. You have very few like Jason Voorhees types killers in real life who just indiscriminately kill everything that comes in their path. Pretty much all of the serial killers in modern times, at least the majority, have all had certain types of people they went after. Like Richard Ramirez went after certain types of women. Ted Bundy went after women. Dahmer went after young, fit males. The only one that really, I would say, you could kind of make it so it wasn't like that with was the Son of Sam. Because that dude thought a dog and a invisible person in a hole was telling him to kill people. So he went out and shot him with his gun. So he didn't really have a type, but he was nuts, you know? So I would say, in answer to Old Boy's question, is it predestined? The victims that they have, that's a much deeper question than why they kill. That question, honestly, if you're going to answer that, you have to go completely into, does God exist? Does God have a plan? If God has a plan, what is our role in that plan? And if everything is according to God's plan, how does the idea of free will enter into the picture? Those are very important questions. If you really want to get to the bottom of this, of does fate exist, are things predestined? You got to answer those questions. Now, if you're a person that does not believe God exists, so you don't believe in a creator, you don't believe in an intelligent force behind the scenes that are pulling the strings. If you don't believe that, if you think that the universe was just created by chance and there's nothing after we die, that we just live our life on earth and then we die and that's it, we just cease to exist. If you believe that, then there's pretty much no way you can believe in destiny or things being according to a plan or anything like that. You have to believe everything is just completely and utterly random. That's really the only solution for you. Because to say that there's a such thing as destiny, to say that things are going according to a plan has to have somebody that plans it. Destiny, if you break destiny down, it is a plan. It is a laid out series of events that is arranged to have already happened in the past. So, in other words, they have it all laid out. This is exactly what's going to happen. It doesn't matter what you do. This is what's going to happen. You could choose to go left. You could choose to go right. You could choose to sit down and do nothing. This is still going to come to pass because it's destined. It's according to plan. Now, if that's the case, you got to have a planner, don't you? You got to have somebody who made the plan. So that means you got to have God. So that it really boils down to that, guys. If you do not believe in God, then you cannot believe in destiny. You cannot believe in fate. Because without an intelligent source behind it, there can be no plan. Now, whether you believe that is the Christian God or you believe that that is some other God, that's up for debate with you. I'm not saying you got to believe my God is God. I would like you to believe that because I believe that to be the truth. But as long as you believe in a God of some sort behind the scenes, then you're still on track for destiny. You're still on track for fate. There's a lot of talk of fate in the old mythologies. I mean, you had like the Fate sisters who had the strands, and if they would clip your strand, then your life would end and your destiny would be over, all that stuff. So the idea of it goes back a long, long time that mankind has been struggling with this question, trying to figure it out. You see all these little orange things on my toboggan? I got an orange sweatshirt that I put on when it gets real cold. And I did not realize that this damn thing put orange stuff all over me. So probably got it on my shirt too. I'm wearing my Doctor Who shirt. There's a TARDIS there. I love me some Doctor Who. This is a question that mankind has been struggling. I got sidetracked. I apologize. For quite a long time. So I'm not used to seeing myself up this close. And when I can see all the stuff that's sticking on me, it's absolutely ridiculous. So does fate exist? Or is fate something that is a Band-Aid for the soul? Is it something that we tell ourselves just to feel better about things? Because if things are truly completely random and chaotic, that's a sad existence. That is a scary existence if you really think about it. Because that means there's no rhyme or reason. There's no plan. There's no scales of justice. There's nothing. You just die and you're gone. That's heartbreaking. I mean, how would you even have the strength or the gumption, as we used to say, to go on at that point, if that's truly what you believed? There is no reward. There is no punishment for those who have done wrong. There is no justice. There's no righteousness. There's no love. There's no nothing if none of that stuff exists. That's a sad thought. But let's say it does. Okay, let's say that God exists and he has a plan. Because you've heard that before. We've all heard it. It's in the Bible that God has a plan for mankind. So what is the extent of that plan? Because we also know that we have free will. So we've got to juggle those two concepts, and we got to figure out what that means. If we have free will, that means that not everything in our life is scripted. We have a choice of what we want to do. But we also know that God has a plan. So how does God nudge us into the positions that we need to be in order to fulfill his plan and still take into account our own free will? I would say the answer to that question is probably probabilities. The law of probabilities is the answer. I'll explain what I mean. Your wife has an appointment. Got to go to the doctor. You're ready to go because you're a man. Doesn't take long for us. Throw in our gear, throw in our shoes, we're ready to go. In my case, put my boot on, put my sweatshirt on that leaves little fuzzy shits all over me, and I'm ready to go. My wife, on the other hand, takes a long time to get ready. So she's known that this appointment's coming for weeks. She's known that she's got to be there. She got up at 6 o'clock this morning, even though the appointment's not until 3 o'clock this afternoon. And she has been literally getting ready all day. But still, despite her best efforts and yours, you roll out of the house with like 25 minutes till the appointment. And you got at least a 30-minute drive to get there. So you know you got a boogie. You got to put the pedal to the metal. You got to roll down that road. Now, if you're like me and you live out here in the boonies and the mountains, you got to pray that there ain't a tractor or something like that in the way. Because that happens a hell of a lot over here. I can't tell you the amount of times I've been late for an appointment because my beautiful wife is taking all day to get ready and still isn't ready. And I haul ass down the road and I get behind a John Deere or a Case or a Massey, and they're just there, putting along, hauling hay or something. Now I'm screwed. Now, let's say that scenario takes place. You're on a back road. Tractor hauling a hay wagon. You got traffic zipping by the other way. So you know that passing this tractor is not going to be an easy thing to do because you got the tractor and then you got a long trailer that it's hauling that's got hay on it. So that's about 20, 30 feet you got to clear before a car comes. You see an opening. Now, at that moment, you have free will. You have a choice to make. You can either stay safe and stay behind the tractor, or because you think there's an opening, you can make it, and you're running late, and you got to get to that damn appointment because your wife wasn't ready, and you're already pissed off because your wife wasn't ready. Are you going to take that chance? Are you going to zip out, go around that tractor, maybe give him the old stone cold salute on the way through? I don't know. Maybe not. And zip back over so you can go fast again. Now, where the law of probability comes in, what are the odds on that? The majority of people are going to go around that tractor. I am going to go around that tractor. 99 out of 100 times, if I think I can make it, I'm going around that tractor. Now, I bet you that most of you watching say the exact same thing. So if that's the case, then probability says the majority of people are going to make that choice. So if it is your destiny to be at that appointment at a certain time so that you can say a certain thing to a certain person that'll give them an idea that they can then talk about to another person that causes that person to do something that is part of God's plan, this great thing for humanity, the odds are in their favor that you're going to go around that tractor. Now, you still have the choice, but the odds say you're going to do it and you're going to make it on time. So is that how God nudges us? Does he use the odds? Well, the Bible says that he's omnipresent. He's everywhere. It also says that he's not limited by time and space, which means God is past, God is present, God is in the future. He's everywhere. So if God is everywhere, he already knows whether or not you went around that tractor. He already knows whether you made it or whether you pancaked into a tree. God knows exactly when you got to that appointment. God even knows the mood you were in when you did it. So maybe God goes, I need somebody to make a comment that's going to make this person here think of a good idea that they can pass on, and it will be this next great invention that cures cancer or something. I'm going to use James. He's at that appointment. He's a smart fella. So let me put something in his path that's going to make him think of the thing I want him to think about when he gets there. And then let's see what he says to this person. Let's say he wants to talk about the common cold, right? Or the flu. That's what we said. It cures it. Okay, so maybe there's some sort of advertisement for a flu shot, or there's some sort of something like that that would make me think about the flu. So when I get there, I'm already thinking about the flu, and maybe I make a comment, and that triggers that person's mind. But what if it doesn't? Well, God can simply adjust and say, okay, that billboard for a flu shot didn't work. Let's try a Kleenexes, a box of Kleenex sitting on the side of the road that he sees when he goes by, and he'll be wondering, why did somebody just leave a box of Kleenex in there? That don't make no damn sense. So when he gets there, he's thinking about Kleenexes. What do you use Kleenexes for? To blow your nose? Flu. Now let's see what he says. Bingo, he said the thing I needed him to say. If God is past, present, and future, why couldn't he do that? He could just keep tinkering until the results that he get happen, ones that he wants. Could that explain the multiverse? Is that why the multiverse exists? Remember, in the multiverse, you have every single conceivable outcome is represented in the multiverse. Is that what the multiverse is? Is it God tinkering with situations to fulfill his plan, changing little things here and there that cause you to react differently until you react in the way that he needs you to react to fulfill his plan? Pretty interesting to think about. Now, you might say, well, that sounds kind of crazy, man. Well, I mean, the top scientists, the top astrophysicists say that the multiverse is real, that it exists. There's crazier things in nature. Look at light, man. Light is nuts. Light starts off as a wave, which holds the least amount of information. It's not until it is actually perceived by a person that it changes. Think about that. It starts off as a wave. It's a wave the whole time. Then you see it, and it changes from a wave to a photon, which can hold way more information. That's nuts. It literally changes its entire state of what it is, just because you've seen it. How is that possible? How can you explain that scientifically? You cannot. That's got to be some supernatural, otherworldly stuff. I can't explain it, can you? How can something simply change its state just because you see it? And not only does it change its state at that moment, it literally goes back in time and changes its state for its whole existence. That is crazy. Basically, what that means is nothing is real, but everything is real. But it's only real when you're perceiving it to be. It's almost like a video game, man. In a video game, the entire game is there. But the only thing that renders is what you're looking at. To save computing space, they don't show all the other stuff. They don't show all the other rooms, all the other levels, all the other areas of the map. None of that matters except for what you're looking at that moment on the screen. That's the only thing that's rendered out in full view. Everything else is just in the periphery. It's just data. But it's not there until you look at it, and then it's there. That's the exact same thing light does. That's insane. Some people say that that's proof that we're living in a simulation like the Matrix. Is it? Or could it be that that's actually proof that God is working his plan? What is a programmer? What is a game? In order to have a game, you've got to have a programmer. You've got to have a developer. You've got to have a person, an intelligent source behind it that creates it. That's God for our reality. He has created this universe just like somebody would create a game. That's nuts, isn't it? That we kind of copied potentially what God does to create video games for ourselves, to play with, to become as God ourselves. The old temptation from the snake in the garden, remember? You will be as God. You will know good and evil. What have we done with every video game we've ever created? Good and evil. There's a good guy and there's a bad boss that you're trying to beat. Almost every game is like that. Even games that aren't, even games that are like survival games and stuff like that, there's still a good and evil concept because good is survival. Evil is death. So losing the game means dying. You know, you do have a couple games like a farming simulator, which I love, that really is no evil in that game. You're just kind of farming, which is awesome. But could it be that God kind of does the same thing as the programmer of reality? That's why light only becomes a photon once you observe it? That until then it's in a wavelength form where it can carry way less data and information? Pretty wild stuff to think about. I don't know whether it's true or not. I mean, I know parts of that are true, but I don't know whether God created the universe just like we create video games, and that's how he's able to go in and tinker and change the programming around and kind of make things happen the way he wants them to happen. That's kind of cool. And if that's the case, dude, a lot of us are NPCs. You ever think about that? Every single person, with the exception of the people that are your good friends that you talk to all the time, and your family members that you talk to all the time, everybody else is an NPC in your existence. We're just all non-player characters, man, out there wandering around doing our thing. And the game really focuses just on you, your experience in life, and the people right around you. And that's the same experience every single one of us has. That's pretty wild, isn't it? That literally all of existence is centered around us in our own experiences. And it's like that for every single one of us. That's pretty wild. Now, I don't know how much that answers any of Old Boy's questions, because I've kind of gone way over on the side over here, because I've just been kind of going off my head here talking, but that's a pretty wild idea, isn't it? And it makes you wonder sometimes, is it possible for free will and fate to exist together? That's a question we kind of asked in the beginning of this rant, isn't it? Well, I think it could. This is definitely one way it could. I mean, look at all I've just talked about. How God knows past, present, and future. So God can kind of tweak things and maneuver them the way he wants in order to get the desired result, because he knows what the result of our free will choices were. So we still have free will. We can still decide for ourselves what to do. But God knows what happens. He knows the result of those decisions. So he can kind of craft a web in between there that will get us to the desired result, to fulfill his plan for each one of us. Pretty amazing stuff. Absolutely, absolutely incredible. There's just so many things like that really make you think, and they really make you go, wow. Because see, a lot of people think when they hear something like that we might actually be living in a simulation, and that there is some scientific proof that doesn't really prove that, but definitely makes it seem more possible. Okay? Now, some people might call that junk science. Science is science, man. You know what I mean? As long as the data is correct, just because you don't like what it says doesn't make it junk. But it's possible for those things to be true. But yet, it does not mean whatsoever that we're living in a simulation. I'm not saying we are. I'm just saying, if we are, isn't it interesting how maybe what that actually is, instead of us just being all fake, that we're actually all real. The reason we're living in a simulation is because this is just one of an infinite amount of possible outcomes. And we never know which one God is going to choose in order to fulfill that plan. So maybe God kind of weaves through the multiverse, picking moments that work for his plan. That's pretty wild to think about too. And if that's the case and it's kind of just all patched together, could that explain the Mandela effect? Could that be what the Mandela effect is? The reason why some of us remember something one way and others remember it another way. And we did a show on the Mandela effect. There's tons of different examples. The Bear Seen Bears, Nelson Mandela, The Shazam movie, whether it's Shazam with Sinbad or Kazam with Shaq, all those things, right? Could it be that in some universes, that moment was chosen that fulfilled God's plan? So those people had it this way in their universe. So that's what their memory is. While people over here are from a different universe because the moment that they're involved in for God's plan happened in this universe over here. So that means that we have a universe here, we have a universe over here for this moment, and it's all kind of getting weaved together into the strand of reality. But these people, different memory. In this universe, it was Shazam, Sinbad. In this universe, Kazam, Shaq. But yet they're both in the same reality because God is using those moments for his overall plan. So that's why you have different memories of different things. Could that be possible? I don't know. Sounds interesting though, doesn't it? Definitely sounds plausible. I don't know if it's possible, but it's plausible. Who knows? See, that's the problem. We don't know. We don't have that information. We can't reliably say what God is doing because God doesn't check in and tell us. He doesn't say, hey guys, look, I'm going to pick this moment you're in over here and I'm going to weave this into the storyline. But a lot of things are going to be really weird for you, man. You're not going to remember things the way other people remember things. And they're going to say you're crazy. But don't worry about that because you're just from a different universe and it'll all make sense when you die. We don't get any of that. We just go about our life and we have no idea what the hell's going on. Sometimes I think it would be a lot easier if God would just kind of go, knock on the sky and just kind of open it up and look down and say, hey, y'all hear me? I'm real. I'm up here. Behave. I get you. Whatever he's going to say. But just say something so that all of mankind would go, uh-oh, he's up there. But I guess that kind of blows the whole idea of faith out of the water, doesn't it? Because if God just opened up the sky and said, yoo-hoo, hey guys, then there would be no doubt anymore. Faith wouldn't be necessary because everybody would just know. Imagine how scared you would be if that happened. Even if you're a believer, okay? Say you're someone who grew up in the church, you believe in God. You love God. God is awesome. Jesus is your homeboy, as they say. And then all of a sudden one day, the sky opens up, some dude sticks his head down looking at you. All you see is a big old eye. Hey, everybody down there, listen to me. Dude, I love God. I'd probably soil myself. That would be scary as hell. Just some big head sticking out of the sky looking at you. You feel like an ant inside of a mason jar. You ever do that as a kid? Catch a bunch of bugs and put them in a jar and put the lid on? Then you're just looking at them. What are y'all doing in there? Shaking it? Till they eventually die because you forgot to put enough holes or some crap like that. Or you don't know what to feed them. You don't know what the hell they eat. You just put a leaf in there because you think, yeah, they eat leaves. And they end up dying. You would feel like that insect in that mason jar with a big old eye looking at you. And you would feel infinitely small and weak and very, very scared. I know I would. That would be a scary situation, dude, because what are you going to do? He could literally just reach down and flick the hell out of you if he wanted to. Just squish you with his thumb. You're done. When you think about it like that God is that powerful. And he's also righteous. That's got to scare the hell out of you. If you understand the concept of righteousness, that should scare the hell out of you. He has to punish us because we've done wrong because he's righteous. But because he loves us so much, he took that punishment himself for us so that we don't have to go through it. That's essentially the story of the Bible. That's the gospel right there, guys. Don't get bogged down in all the crap that you hear from people that are supposedly Christians who all they want to do is just judge you and act like dicks. Let's say what it is. You're going to hell because you did this. You're not allowed to love that person. You got to do it this way. That's not what the Bible's about, man. Yeah, some of that stuff's in the Bible. There's a lot of stuff in the Bible. But essentially what the storyline is, what the message is that we're all fallen, man. We're all sinful. And we deserve hell because of our own actions. But God loves us so damn much that he took that punishment himself so that we wouldn't have to go through it. We wouldn't have to burn. That we could be in heaven with him. That's how much he loves us. That's the storyline, man. That's what the Bible's about. All that other stuff is just side stuff, man. That's not the central message. And I hope everybody understands that. The central message, we're all sinners. We deserve hell. God took the punishment on himself for our sins so that we don't have to burn. All we have to do is accept that gift and we can be saved. That being said, I'm going to throw it back over to Old Boy and get his shout outs and all that kind of stuff. And then I'll be back on the other side to close up. So, Old Boy, go ahead, brother.
I hope everybody enjoyed the show this night. It's almost the end of the year. It's almost going to be a new year. I think it's almost 7 years from Staring at the Abyss. 6 or 7. One of those two. I'll remember eventually. I'm just playing. I think it's 6 years. If you guys like our shows, watch us on YouTube. James Hershey's YouTube page. Always follow us on ParaX Radio every Sunday nights at 9 Pacific, 12 Eastern. And the best of on Tuesday nights, 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. You guys want merchandise, he'll tell you where to go. There's a lot of big things coming this year. Can't talk about them, but you'll see soon. They're coming. Thank you always, guys. We love you to death. And I hope you guys have a great new year. And happy holidays. Misfits, Sugar Ladies, Monster Lovers, Demon Hunters. We love you and blessed be. And good night.
Thank you, brother. I'd like to thank all y'all for watching tonight. I hope that you enjoyed the show. It was an interesting one. We had no idea, or at least I had no idea coming into it what the hell we were talking about. It's another one of these weeks where Old Boy just said, man, I got a great idea for a show, and let's do it. And I'm really cool like that, man. If he has an idea for a show, great, let's do it. You know, I don't care what it's about, man. If you want to talk about something, let's talk. And sometimes you get some really interesting stuff out of that, and I think we did tonight. So let me know down in the comments section what you guys think. As always, it's up to you to make up your own mind. But I think there was some interesting stuff covered tonight. And not quite sure what the answer is, to be honest with you. But it was sure fun theorizing. Shameless plug time. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. That's where everything is. It's where every episode of Staring is. Every episode of Tales from the Abyss is. Every episode of Paranormal News. There's also other videos on the channel. It's 100% free. There's literally like 1,000 or more videos on there for you to watch. So please go and check it out. If you're already there, thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you have not already and the little bell thingy so that you know when we post. Appreciate you guys. The merchandise store is in the description box of every single YouTube video. So if you want to support the show and you're into merch, then that is where you can go do it. There's t-shirts, there's mugs, there's posters, there's just all kinds of stuff, man. So much stuff. Hoodies. It's all decent prices. You got the steering design, you got the tails design, and you've got a bunch of different horror themed stuff that's on there. It's a lot of really cool stuff. And it's a decent price and good quality. So if you want to support the show, that'd be a great way to do so. We are also on Stream TV. We have a channel there called Abyss Broadcasting that plays episodes of Staring. It plays episodes of Tales and stuff like that. It's basically a lot of stuff from us. Just all of our different ventures, all of our different shows and all of that. So check that out. I just did an episode of Tales not too long ago with Sean Austin from 28 Days Haunted. He was actually with Andy at Greenville Manor. And Andy got scratched. I just put that up on the channel not too long ago. So if you haven't seen that yet, go check out that video. It's an episode of Tales on there. Pretty cool stuff. We're going to have Sean on Staring coming up in, I don't know, maybe a month, a little bit less, something like that. We're just trying to get the scheduling figured out with everybody, make sure everybody's on the same page. And he's going to come on, him and Andy are, and they're going to talk about that incident at Greenville Manor and what happened. So that should be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that, and I hope you guys will tune in for it. As always, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for joining us. Let us know down in the comments section what you think of the show. Let us know if there's any subjects that you would like covered that we haven't talked about yet. Most likely we've already talked about them because we've been doing this for like 7 years now on the radio. A little bit longer before, but on the radio 7 years. And so we've talked about a hell of a lot of stuff. So chances are we've already done a show on it. If we have, I will put the link in the comment section for you so you can actually listen to that show. If not, if we haven't done an episode of Staring about whatever it is you want to know about, then I'll definitely work one up for you and get it done. As long as it's something I'm allowed to do. You got to be careful, man. You got to be careful because it really hurt this channel. We did some episodes on some more conspiracy type stuff with the government, and they just destroyed the channel, man. I mean, we went from getting thousands of views per video the day I put them up to like 30 views the day I put it up, and it was sad, and they dropped our subscriber count by thousands of people. I mean, like overnight, boom, thousands of people were gone. And I was like, what the hell happened? And at first I just thought we were doing a bad job and we were losing people. But then I had people start messaging me and saying, dude, why am I not subscribed to your channel anymore? I mean, I've subscribed 3 or 4 times now and it keeps unsubscribing me. So something was happening where they were actually unsubscribing people from the channel. And they're suppressing the views. I think a lot more people are watching it than the view count says. Because literally I will have more people message me and tell me that they love the show. They just watched it and they loved it. Than the count says has watched the show. So some funny business is going on. I don't know what it is. But my point is we got to be careful about what we talk about sometimes because that happens. It sucks, but it's the reality of the situation. So if we can do the show, we will. Thank you all for all your support. We love you. We appreciate you. Until we speak to you again. Love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.